So let's take a look at the gameplay of Godslayer. For this reason I have set up two warbands. On your left side you can see the Troglodytes warband of the starter box that I've shown to you before, and on the other side we have the starter box warband of the Mortons. So I would say that I just give you some quick ideas of the gameplay, and I will do some basic gaming now with these warbands. You can watch it and then hopefully you will understand what I'm doing here. So let's give it a go and let's start. First of all, in Godslayer you will need to determine who is the starting player. This is done with a so-called priority roll. In this case you take 2 dice for each of the warbands. So the Troglodytes would roll 2 dice. They score a double 6, that's a pretty amazing start. So yeah, let's continue. The Mortons would do the same, they take 2 dice and roll them, and they scored a 7. So you compare the 2 dice rolls, and the one with the higher result is determined as the starting player. There is a small bonus for this priority roll, which would be the Warlord's leadership value. So actually you would need to check which of the Warlords has the higher leadership before you roll. And in this case the Troglodytes warlord, the Duskborn chieftain, would have a leadership of 9, while the Centurion on the Morton side has a leadership of 10. This means the Centurion has the higher leadership and he gets a +1 bonus to his roll, so he would have scored an 8 in total, but that's still not enough, and the Troglodytes player goes first in this case. So what happens is that the starting player can now decide if he wants to activate first or if he lets the opponent activate first. When you are the starting player of a round, there is a small limitation on your activation limit. The starting player is only allowed to activate 1 model or unit in the first turn. So actually if the Troglodytes decide to go first, they can either activate the Warlord, or they activate the Ironhide Brutes, or they activate the character model, the Pharaoh Hammerfist. If they decide that the Mortons have the first turn in this round, then the Mortons could only activate the Princeptor, which would be the character model, the Centurion, which would be the Warlord, or the unit, the Legionnaires. So in this case, the Troglodytes have nothing in range that they can charge or anything, so they decide that the Mortons go first. Alright, so it's the Mortons' first turn, and they choose to activate only 1 model or unit, and in this case they activate the Legionnaires, and now it's the Legionnaires' turn. Here's the Legionnaires card, and the Legionnaires, they have 4 action tokens which they can use now to perform actions during their activation. So the first thing they will do is they decide to move 3 inches. So they spend 1 action token to move once their movement value, which would be 3 inches. So you would measure how far they can go. They could move up to here, let's say, and this one can move up to here. Let me put him here. And now everyone just moves its 3 inches of movement. Okay, so what's next? The Legionnaires think, okay, let's move another 3 inches. So they spend another action token, and again they move 3 inches. Now I will place them in base contact. You will soon see why I do that. So let me place them in base contact to each other. They have already spent 2 action tokens right now, and now they decide to use their tactic Testudo. They have a tactic called Testudo which costs them 2 action tokens, so the last 2 action tokens are spent to perform this tactic. Testudo is a self-tactic, so they can only use it by themselves. They couldn't order the tactic to another model or another unit. It's only the unit itself can use the tactic. And what Testudo basically does is that they will gain +2 defense and +2 armor to their basic statistics, as long as they are within base contact of another friendly Legionnaire model that is also benefiting from the tactic of Testudo. So in this case, all of the Legionnaires would gain an additional +2 defense and an additional +2 armor to their values. Alright, so that would be the first activation of that turn. And now the Morton Warband would be finished because they were the starting player, or basically they had the first turn in the round, and they are only allowed to activate one model or one unit. The turn goes over to the Troglodytes right now. The Troglodytes can from now on activate normally, which means they can either activate a single miniature or a unit, or a single miniature and a unit, or 2 single miniatures. Alright, so right now the Troglodytes have something in charge range actually. The charge range of all of them would be 8 inches, and they could actually try it. You're not allowed to measure it before. You have to guess if the distance between the models is 8 inches or more or less. So let's see. Let's activate the Duskborn Chieftain first. This would be this warlord here. So he is first and he has 6 action tokens left that he can use to perform his actions. A cool thing that warlords can do, they can actually assign action tokens to another model or unit, and they will assign an action token to the Ironhide Brutes. He could actually assign another action token to the Hammerfist, but let's keep it for himself. So he has 5 action tokens left for now. Alright, so what the Warlord will do next is that he will try to power up the Ironhide Brutes and give them a tactic called Rage. With this tactic they will get an improved melee skill by +1. So what he does is he spends an action token to order the tactic Rage to this unit. Again, they must be within his lead range, but as we've seen before, they are. So the next thing that's necessary is a test for the Ironhide Brutes to see if they understood the ordered tactic of the Warlord. So we would take their leadership, which would be 7, and we try to roll equal or lower than their leadership. With a 4, they made it, so they are now benefiting from the tactic Rage that the Warlord assigned to them, or basically ordered to them. Alright, this means they are now benefiting from Rage, gaining their +1 melee for melee attacks. And we are still at the activation of the Warlord, so he has 4 action tokens left right now, as you can see here. So what's next? We could try a charge actually. Why not? If it's enough, I can show you how a successful charge works. If not, then I can show you how a failed charge works. So the first thing that he wants to do is to pick a charge attack. In this case, he has a 3 action token charge attack that will actually allow him to attack 2 times. So that's what he does. He spends 3 action tokens for his charge attack, and he gains his charge movement for free. And the charge movement is 2 times his movement value of 3 plus an additional 2 inches. So that's a total of 8 inches. I pick this Legionnaire as my target. This means I need to charge in a straight line, and at the end of my charge movement I need to be within my melee range, which would be 1 inch, to this Legionnaire. So let's see. With 8 inches it will get me right over there. That's fantastic, because this means I will definitely be within 1 inch of my target, so the charge is a successful one. And I count as a charger right now. The Legionnaires could react to my charge with a counter attack, but since they have no action tokens left, they can't do anything but standing there. But don't forget that they are in Testudo, and thus they are harder to hit and harder to wound. By the way, I forgot to place the Testudo marker, so let's place it here so that we don't forget it. So, the way it works now is that after the charge movement, my Warlord will do the first attack on this Legionnaire. Therefore, I roll 2 dice, and I add the melee value of my Warlord, which was 8, to this dice roll. So altogether I would have a result of 15, and because I'm the charger, I get a charge bonus of +1. This means I have scored a 16 in total. And let's take a look at the defense of the Legionnaires that I have to beat with my roll. Their normal defense is 13, while they are in Testudo, they have a defense of 15. So luckily I scored a hit, because my result of 16 is higher than their defense of 15. This means I have hit this Legionnaire, and now I would roll to wound him. I make another dice roll, and I score a 5. The power of my weapon is 5, so if I add it to the roll, I have a total of 10, plus 1 bonus from the charge, gives me 11. And this value I now compare to the armor value of the Legionnaire. The armor value of a Legionnaire would be 9. While he's in Testudo, he gets another +2, which means he has an armor value of 11. That would be equal to my roll, so actually nothing would happen to him. But there is a special rule. The Morningstar attack of my Warlord has a special ability listed under its description, which says that he can ignore shield bonuses. This means the Legionnaire has basically a shield bonus in his profile, which says the shield gives him +1 defense and +2 armor. So that these values I can ignore, and this means I can deduct these values when I'm rolling to hit or rolling to wound against him. So since the shield of him gives him a +2 armor actually, his basic armor is reduced to 7, and then you would get the bonus from the Testudo, so +2, which makes him a total of armor of 9. And in this case I would have scored 2 wounds. My roll was 11, his armor is currently 9, so you deduct the armor from the damage you have caused, and the difference is the total wounds he will suffer. So this Legionnaire suffers 2 wounds. The next thing you would do is marking off the damage from this model. Let's say this one would be the Legionnaire number 1. So in this case you would mark off 2 damage from his health bar. When a model reaches 0 life points, it's instantly dead and removed from the table, by the way. Okay, that was my first attack. Don't forget, he has a second attack, because he can attack with his other Morningstar as well. So I need to hit again. I roll another 7, plus my 8 from my melee skill, that makes 15 in total, plus 1 from the charge, so I have scored 16. The defense of the Legionnaire is 15, and actually it's only 14 because I ignore his shield bonus. And in this case I scored another hit, and now I roll to wound again. With this it's pretty low roll, so I would have scored 3 plus the power of 5 plus 1 from the charge bonus, that makes a total of 9. That's exactly the armor of the Legionnaire, so he would have survived this attack and nothing else happens. I have 1 action token left right now. That's too little to buy another attack. I could use a tactic or do something else with it, but at the moment I just keep it, and I say that this model has finished its activation. Okay, it's still my turn. I can decide now to activate another model, an individual model, or a unit in addition to him. So maybe that's what I'm going to do right now. I activate this unit here, which would be the Ironhide Brutes over here, and don't forget I have assigned to them an extra action token, so they can maybe do some more actions this turn. So, since the Warlord was able to successfully charge the Legionnaires, I might just try the same thing with the Ironhide Brutes and charge the Legionnaires. The way it works right now is that a unit always has to perform the same action, and they all share the same action token pool. So basically when I decide to charge, all of the unit models have to charge, and when I decide to move, all of the unit models have to move, and when I decide to attack, all of them has to perform the same kind of attack. So let's start with the charge. I need to check their charge movement, which would be 2 times the movement value of 3 plus an additional 2 inches, gives them a charge movement of 8 inches. So again I will measure, and again I have to move in a straight line, but I need to move each model after the other one. So this one, for example, could pick this one as the target and move close to him until it is within 1 inch of him. This one could still pick this one as a target, so that's what he's doing, and he moves 8 inches over here. And this one picked this one as the target and also moves 8 inches and can move all the way up to here. So right now it seems that this one won't be in any contact. This one is still within 1 inch of him, but he cannot reach this model. Since at least one of the unit models managed to get a target model within its melee range while charging, it's not counting as a failed charge. Only if none of them would have had a target model in their melee range at the end of their charge movement, it would have been a failed charge. But in this way, the charge is successful, and this model has no enemy, so this one cannot fight. By the way, let's say I need to spend 2 action tokens for the charge, because they have to pick their charge attack before. So their charge attack costs 2 action tokens. And yeah, that's how it looks right now. Okay, and now it's again the same procedure as we already did it with the Warlord. I pick the first model, which would be him, and he would be attacking this Legionnaire. They are all carrying Morning Stars, which have the same special rule like the Warlord's Morning Stars. They ignore the shield bonuses. So he will basically need to roll equal to or higher a defense of 14 against this one. So here's what he does. He rolls and he scores a double 1. That's pretty funny now, because a double 1 is a fumble in the game. And it's actually quite cool that we rolled it, so that I can show you how a fumble works. A fumble means that the model does not hit. Even though it might have been able to beat the defense of the model, a double 1 is always a failure. So what it means is that this model cannot perform any further attacks this round. Alright, so he's failed, and yeah, we can go on to the next model. This one doesn't have a model in range, but this one has, and it would be this Legionnaire. So he tries to attack him. That's a 7. Now he has to check if he hits it, and therefore he is adding his melee skill to his roll. The melee skill is 5 plus 7 makes it 12, plus an additional 1 for the charge bonus, so he has scored a 13. The Legionnaire's defense is currently 15 in Testudo, but we remember that we ignore the Testudo, the shield bonus, which makes it one easier to hit him, but it would still be a 14. This means he just misses. Okay, that wasn't so threatening, but they still have action tokens left. So what they can do now is they could decide to move once and get this one also in contact with another one. So they can move up to 1-star movement value right now. It would be 3 inches, and I can just move them around, and as long as they are staying in the melee range of their targets, nothing is going to happen. If he, for example, would move out of the melee range of this Legionnaire, he could do a free strike against him, and that's not something that you would like. So I spent 1 action token and I moved him over here. And now I can spend an additional 2 action tokens to perform a second attack. And the armor value of the Legionnaires is currently 11, but remember I ignore the shield bonus, so I deduct another 2 armor from it, so it makes it 9, and this means I would score, what did I say? I rolled an 8 plus 4 plus 2 makes it 10, 14. Yeah, that will deal 5 damage. So in this case, this model would suffer 5 damage. You mark it off, which means the model is dead, and it would be removed from the game. Okay. So we have this one left with an attack, and he can now attack this one here. What happens now is that the tactic Testudo only works for each model that's in base contact with another model. Since he doesn't benefit from the tactic right now. This makes it easier for me to hit him. So I'm rolling, and I roll a double 3. Always when you roll a pair and you successfully hit, that means that you rolled a critical hit. So let's first check if I hit the model. It's a double 3, that makes it 6, plus 5 from my melee skill, that makes it 11, plus 1 from the charge and plus 1 from my rage tactic. So I have a total of 13, and the current defense of him would be, without test to do it, would be 13. Without his sheet bonus, he only gets 11, so I definitely hit him. And now I have scored a critical hit. A critical hit means that the model is instantly suffering direct damage equal to the action tokens that were spent for the attack. I spent 2 action tokens for this attack, so in this case the model would suffer 2 direct damage. And in addition to that, I still have my damage roll. I roll a 4, I add the 4 from my weapon's power, which makes it 8, plus 1 from the charge bonus, which makes it 9. The current armor of the Legionnaire is 9 without the test to do, and only 7 without the sheet bonus. So I'm actually scoring some wounds, and that would be, what did I say? I have 8, 9. Yeah, basically none. It's exactly, no, it's 2. 2 wounds. I scored 2 wounds on him, plus 2 from the direct damage, so I would score 4 wounds altogether. I would mark it off, and he has 1 life point left, so he's still in play and alive. Since my Iron Hide Brutes don't have any action tokens left, they are basically finished right now, and I had my activations, so it's the opponent's turn. In this case, it's the Morton's turn again. Alright, so what's to do next with the Mortons? I could charge both models in here. I could decide to charge just one model in here. I could also decide to charge none at all and just move them over here to threaten the Hammer Fist or something like that. But in this case, I think, since I want to show you how the game works, let me just charge, and let's charge, maybe just charge with the Warlord right now. So I activate the Centurion, and he's declaring a charge against this model right here. It's the same procedure. The Centurion chooses his attack option. He has a Gladius, and an attack with the Gladius costs him 2 action tokens. Okay, right now he's going to check if he has the needed distance. Of course, 8 inches should be enough. So I could charge him here. I could also decide to charge him in a straight line over here. And as long as I'm within 1 inch of him, it counts as a successful charge. So let me place him here and assume that this is his charge position right now. Okay, the next thing he does is that he tries to hit. It's the same procedure like with the troglodytes. You roll, he scores a 5, he adds his melee value of 8, that's a 13, plus a 1 for the charge bonus, so that's a 14. The defense of an Ironhide Brute is only 13, so I definitely hit him. And this means I can now roll to wound. The power of Gladius is pretty low. I think in this case the power of his Gladius is only 3. Yeah, that's right. The power is only 3, plus the charge bonus makes it 4, plus the roll makes it 9. Alright, so let's see what the Ironhide Brute's armor is. They have an armor value of 7, so he would suffer 2 damage right now. These are again marked off on the card on the specific unit model. They have 10 life points each. The leader, which would be this one, he has actually 12 life points, so they are pretty hard to kill. But I'm not finished now. My Centurion can still make attacks. Let's assume I'm a new player and I don't know my Warlord so well. I have not seen the rule close quarter fighter, which means when I'm in base contact with a model, it allows me to spend 1 less action token for melee attacks. So maybe right now I decide, oh man, I move it closer to get into melee attack, base contact with this one. That's what I'm doing now. And now I'm performing a second attack, which costs me 1 less action token, in this case only 1. So I'm rolling to hit again. I scored a double 2, which would be a critical hit if I hit. So let's see, I have 8 plus 4, that's 12, plus 1 from the charge, that makes it 13, and that's an exact hit. In this case I scored a critical. So the model is already suffering 2 direct damage that cannot be avoided from the critical hit. Then I roll to wound. I have a power of 3, plus 8 makes it 11, plus 1 from the charge makes it 12. deducting the armor of 7 makes it 5 damage, plus the 2 extra damage from the critical hit makes it 7 damage, and we mark it off, which means this model has only 1 wound left. Okay, I go for another attack, still costing me 1 less action token. So I roll to hit again, I score another hit, and I roll to wound again. And I score enough wounds to kill the model. So basically this model would now be dead. Where is it? Here. It is now removed from the game immediately and counts as destroyed. And my Centurio stands there and he's out of melee range from this one, so there's nothing else to attack, but he's in a perfect position to get charged by the Hammerfist. Maybe we don't want that. We use our last action token to move. So now he's moving 3 more inches and I try to move him further away from the Hammerfist, and let's move him over here. Right now I can decide if I want to activate another model, in this case him. He's the last one that was not activated so far, but you have to think about it a little bit like chess. If you leave it in this position and the Hammerfist charges here, then afterwards he could still charge in here and cause some damage on the Hammerfist. So I will leave it as it is. Alright, so back to the troglodytes. The only miniature left is the Feral Hammerfist, and now he has to decide what to do. In this case, let us try another charge. That's why we have the Hammerfist. He's a good charger, and he has to declare his charge attack. And the cool thing about him is that he only needs to spend 1 action token for his attacks. And yeah, let's see what he can do with it. He also has a charge range of 8 inches, so let's move him 8 inches towards the Centurion, which would be the target model. It's still enough. Even though the Centurion tried to flee before, or get out of range, he still didn't make it, and the Hammerfist is able to charge him. In this case, I placed the Hammerfist to have 2 miniatures in melee range, but since I picked him as the target, my first charge attack has to be against this model. So again, I will try to hit the Centurion, and I score an 8. The melee skill of the Hammerfist is 6, that makes it 14, plus 1 from the charge is a 15. And the defense value of my Centurion is currently 12, but he's equipped with a shield item. So this will give him another shield bonus of plus 2 defense and plus 1 armor. So he has actually a defense of 14. Yeah, I think I still hit him because my roll scored a 15, so that's a hit. And now I try to wound him. I have a power of 3 plus 1 from the charge plus my roll. So it's 4 plus 8, 13. And the armor value of my Centurion would be 9 right now, together with the shield. So he suffers 4 wounds. We mark it off. And the Hammerfist is not yet done. He can still make another attack. Tries to hit again. He hits, and he tries to score more wounds. That's that's 10, plus 3, plus 1, that makes it 14, minus 9, which makes it 5 damage points. Yeah, should be correct. And let's do another attack. And again, he fumbles, which is pretty bad now, because he would have 2 action tokens left to perform additional attacks, but now he can't perform any more. That's pretty sad, because he nearly managed to beat the Centurio into the orange area. When a model reaches the orange area, that's only for individual models, then they suffer -1 on their basic statistics because they are seriously wounded. But in this case, he didn't manage it. That can happen, and it stays as it is. I could now decide to move him away or do something else, but I cannot attack anymore. But I won't move away, because if I move out of his melee range, I get another free strike, so let's don't do that. And in this case, my activation would be finished. And now it's the turn of the Mortons again. Their only model left is the Princeptor, and guess what he will do? He will charge the Hammer Fist. So I guess that's definitely 8 inches. I just place him over here, and I spent 3 action tokens because he has an ambidextrous fighter attack, meaning he can attack 2 times. The first attack would be a hit, and now let's check for wounding it. He scores a 4, and the current power of his Sparth attack would be 3, so it would be 7 plus 1 from the charge, which would be 8. The Hammer Fist has an armor value of 7, so he would suffer 1 damage. Since now all models have been activated, the round would end and a new one would begin. By the end of the round, this tactic is gone. The test to do stays until the next activation of this unit. That's all basically mentioned in the rules, so don't worry about that. You will clearly see how long tactics last and so on. What happens at the beginning of the next round is that every unit generates its action tokens again. So this one goes back to the Warlord. And you just put them up here and you instantly have all your action tokens refreshed. And then the new round would start, and again it would be the first thing to do would be to determine the starting player again, and then the round is played as we just seen it. So I guess you already got an idea of how it works. There was no shooting involved right now, but it was just meant to show you some basics of the game, and I think yeah, that's it. By now you should know how the basics work, and you could see a little bit of it and see some situations, how they work out on the battlefield. And for everything else, just go to our website, download the quick start rules for free. You can also download the profile cards you can see in front of here and all the tokens for free. You can just print them out and use some proxy miniatures and get your games going. And yeah, try it out and have fun with it.